Around 8:30 or 9:30, we are in this curfew right now. Police corralled large groups of protesters using different tactics, and we're actually in front of a house. A man named Rahul, he let in protesters into his home. He tells me about 70 people are inside, and we have him and everyone who's inside on video chat right now. So we do want to talk and see what this experience is like. I hope that you guys at home are able to see this. But Rahul, just first talk to me. Why did you open your doors and let these protesters inside?
Yeah, Kristen, I just want to first say that the souls behind me are amazing. They have put up a fight in peaceful protest and civil disobedience. And I was outside on the stoop of my steps at around 8:30, and it was just peaceful gathering. The police had blocked everybody in, pinned them into the one-way street of Swann. Still remained pretty calm until about 8:45. I went downstairs to open up the back gate to let a couple people out because they were trapped in. And when I come out to the front, I heard screaming, some pepper spray. My eyes started burning, and I just flung open the door, and all these people started to come in. And you know, we're smiling now, but that first hour, for about 10 minutes, the first 10 minutes, there was a flood of people. Guys, you were there. Just, you know, rubbing their eyes, coughing, screaming, crying. It was mayhem for a good hour inside here. Once the police brigade had pushed past the front door of my house, the sea of people, there was nothing in its wake. So I was able to slam the door shut, making sure everyone was inside. And we tended to them in terms of, you know, some of the remedies that they had come prepared with in terms of milk. I'll have them talk about that, but the first hour was it was pure mayhem.
And Rahul, I want to note, you were saying reports of, pepper spray, tear gas. What is the mood inside now? Outside here, there doesn't appear to be police around, but you know, curfew ends at 6. What's the plan here?
You know, we're staying safe inside. They pepper sprayed inside the house as people were running in after we closed the doors. They'd come to the door. They tried to trick us to come out a couple times. I'll let you talk to them about it. We're going to stay put until 6. I have a 13-year-old son. I would not let him go outside right now. I'm not going to let any of these people go outside. They are now family. And I'll let you talk to them now. They're the real heroes.
And, everyone inside right now, what was the experience? How are you feeling? This is now, we're 1 hour until curfew ends, and you've been in this home now for all night.
Yeah, we have.
What is your name?
I like it too. I'm sorry?
What is your name?
My name is Allison Lane.
And describe your experience to us.
My experience, so we started at the White House. A lot of us were protesting on 14th Street. Most of us, I think, were on our way homes or somewhere safe. The cops corralled us pretty much down 15th Street, and we were trapped on Swann Street, still peacefully protesting. At some point, the cops lined up with riot gear, with their shields, and they just started pushing and pepper spraying. I got pushed down. Somebody just picked me up, and we were swooped right into Rahul's house, and we've been here safely recovering and trying to...
And I do want to note, not only it sounds like there was that fear when police started moving in to disperse the crowds, but we're in the middle of a pandemic, and, you know, stay-at-home orders just ended, and now you're in a home with about 70 people. What's the mood?
Terrifying. I'm sorry?
What's the mood? You just said it's terrifying?
It's scary to think that we were pepper sprayed in a respiratory pandemic. It seems pretty irresponsible of the police. Very lack of care for our care. It doesn't sound like you're really taking care of your people. But I think trapped inside into Raul's personal home, you know, like, this does not feel safe at all. But this is what we have to do. You need to demonstrate and see that this is not okay for the police to attack people.
And one more question. What do you want? What do you want to see happen moving forward? We're seeing a lot of cries for Mayor Bowser to address this on Twitter. What are you guys looking for?
We're looking for peace. We're looking for justice. People were murdered this week, you know, and we're out here protesting. We knew full well that we might be tear gas, and we still went on out there anyway because it matters. Black lives, it matters. Our visibility matters. Our voices matter.
Here, you guys. Come on.
You know?
And you can hear them even in the house clapping right now. I want to thank you all for taking the time to speak with us. They are inside of this home. Here they are. They're on video chat with me and right inside of there. So we're going to stay here all morning long. Again, you heard at 6 o'clock they do plan to leave, and they do hope that is peaceful. So, of course, we'll report to you on what we're seeing on the ground here. Robert.
And there you go. The curfew in the district did very little to calm protests. Large groups were seen on the streets hours after that 7 p.m. curfew. It went into effect. Now, military helicopters, as you just saw right there, were also seen flying overhead. Many were low enough to actually kick up debris with their rotors. Now, it was a crowd control tactic that didn't seem to deter many protesters. Good morning, Washington. John Gonzalez continues our team coverage this morning. He's live in Northwest with a look at the damage there. Good morning, John.
Robert, good morning. I know it was tough to control the crowd last night into the overnight hours, but I can tell you that Chinatown is now a ghost town even for 5 o'clock in the morning, and everything is pretty much boarded up. And keep in mind, there is still a curfew in place until 6 o'clock this morning. A lot of this is preventative, but you can see some of it is not. The doors here at Capital One Arena have been shattered. Take a look in here. The staff at the arena deciding to put the trash cans and all the newspaper stands inside to make sure looters and protesters can't get their hands on them. But you see some damage here. Take a look at the bus shelter. Some of the glass has been shattered there. And as you look down 7th Street, you can see a lot of D.C. police out and about making sure that people are complying with the curfew. Right across the street, it would appear, we don't want to make any assumptions, but it would appear that someone split that small tree in half there. So we are seeing sporadic damage everywhere, evidence that there was some unrest here on the streets of Chinatown this morning. We're going to continue to drive around to show you what we are finding. Another night of turmoil, another night of protest, rioting, looting here in the streets of D.C. Lindsay, I'm going to send it over to you.
And right now I'm at the alert desk. I'm monitoring a shooting that's happened in Las Vegas. This is some video that we got in this morning. It's right outside the Circus Hotel. We're told that one officer was shot. We still are waiting to hear that officer's condition. We're also told that along Las Vegas Boulevard, there was another shooting, same road there, but in downtown Las Vegas. In that case, we're being told that it is an officer-involved shooting, but we're still working to get more information about both of these shootings. I'm following this and other breaking news events all around the nation right now, and I'll be back with more soon. Back to you.
All right, Lindsay, it's 5:08, and things erupted last night surrounding President Trump's appearance outside St. John's Episcopal Church near the White House. Now, police fired tear gas and rubber bullets at protesters yesterday evening before the district's curfew took effect and before the president's visit. Now, President Trump walked to get to the church. It's just across Lafayette Park from the White House. Now, he was joined by several people you see here, including his son-in-law and advisor, Jared Kushner, and Attorney General William Barr. Now, once he arrived at St. John's, President Trump stood with a Bible in his hand, you see here, and posed for photos. The church that's welcomed several presidents over the years was vandalized and partially burned in a protest on Sunday. Now, earlier yesterday, President Trump issued a statement at the White House.
If a city or state refuses to take the actions that are necessary to defend the life and property of their residents, then I will deploy the United States military and quickly solve the problem for them.
Now, the head of the Episcopal Diocese of Washington is slamming the president for his appearance outside the church.
The president just used a Bible, the most sacred text of the Judeo-Christian tradition, and one of the churches of my diocese, without permission, as a backdrop for a message antithetical to the teachings of Jesus and everything that our churches stand for. And to do so, as you just said, he sanctioned the use of tear gas by police officers in riot gear to clear the churchyard. I am outraged.
And the national head of the Episcopal Church agrees. Presiding Bishop Michael Curry tweeted, quote, "This evening, the President of the United States stood in front of St. John's Episcopal Church, lifted up a Bible, and had pictures of himself taken. In so doing, he used the church building and the Holy Bible for partisan political purposes. Now, Senator Marco Rubio is defending President Trump, and he's criticizing the protesters' behavior right before the president walked up to the church. Now, the Florida Republican tweeted, quote, "They knew the street needed to be cleared before 7 p.m., that curfew, but they deliberately stayed to trigger police action and get the story they wanted." Ashley?
The funeral for George Floyd is set for a week from today in Houston, and this comes as his family commissioned an independent autopsy that found he died of asphyxiation. The Hennepin County medical examiner in Minnesota officially determined Floyd's death a homicide, and the neck constraint played a factor, something private doctors also determined. The officer who pinned down Floyd remains charged with third-degree murder and manslaughter. The 3 other officers involved have been fired but not charged at this point.
All right, your time now, 5:11, and let's transition into the weather now. It is a primary day in the district and in Maryland, so Stormwatch 7 meteorologist Veronica Johnson is here. She's tracking clouds this morning with the coronavirus concerns. Now, people are being encouraged to vote by mail, but will it stay dry for people who actually want to head to the polls?
A chance for some showers, some sprinkles first part of the day, Robert. That's just past about noon, 1 o'clock. But also looking at some bigger changes coming our way from 80 degrees the afternoon temperature today to 94, our first summer sizzle tomorrow. So while you were sleeping, those clouds have been moving in. A few light showers now around Warrenton, around Winchester, and around Luray. So again, keep in mind a little shower, a little sprinkle. Maybe small umbrella if you are going to be heading out to the polls. 64 degrees at 10 a.m., 80 degrees by 1 p.m., 78 by 4 p.m. Notice a little bit of sunshine there. So we'll go from cloudy skies here early this morning with those sprinkles and showers to some sunshine a little bit for the afternoon, and storm chances now up for tomorrow. I'm back with the heat. I'm back with the timing of those storms in just a few minutes. Robert, Ashley.
All right, Veronica, well, next up on Good Morning Washington, there's a big cleanup in Richmond.
After a protest ends with damage, we'll show you how the community is coming together.
Plus, we'll tell you what started as a peaceful protest is ending up in violent in many cases. Now, how can police track down the instigators, though? Well, a former officer shows us what tools investigators have at their disposal. And we're following breaking news this morning. Protests continued in the district overnight. Demonstrators defied the mayor's curfew, and now some are holed up inside a home after being boxed in by police. And of course, we have team coverage of our protests in the area and around the country as well. So let's start with Good Morning Washington's Kristen Powers. She's live in Northwest, where that standoff is still going on as we speak. Kristen, is there any sign of movement? Because the curfew is set to expire in just about a half an hour here.
Yeah, Robert, curfew ends at 6 o'clock. And I do have to say, at this point, people are still inside, but you can't see police anywhere. It seems to be a very calm scene. However, as we talked in the last half an hour with those protesters, about 70 of them inside of this home on Swann Avenue Northeast near 15th, they tell us they are fearful to come out before curfew because of arrest. And they're even afraid of coming out after curfew with arrest. And I'm going to bring in right now Austin Beach. You have been, I noticed, standing outside of this house since I've been here throughout the night. You were part of the protests today. Why are you still out here?
So we saw on Instagram and Twitter and this stuff that there were all these kids that were over here, and we wanted to just stop by and make sure that they were okay. We were worried about them. And, you know, kind of standing in solidarity with them.
And you said you had brought some medical supplies. What are you thinking is going to happen? What do you hope, of course, does not happen at 6 when they leave?
I'm hoping that the police let them leave and that nothing happens, but they started firing on protesters at 6:30 and half hour before the curfew at the White House with rubber bullets and tear gas. They obviously don't care about whether people are peaceful or anything like that. I mean, it's...
And I have to ask this, you know, as a white man, I'm white, people who look like us, this is curfew, so you're breaking curfew right now. What makes you feel like you can stand out here? Police haven't bothered you.
Yeah, I mean, it's just the reality. I mean, at this point, it's been proven it's the reality. Even when we were walking through protesting and helicopters were swooping down and there were agents and police everywhere, I realized that for me, walking through those spots and putting my hands up made me feel at least a little bit safer in what was a really chaotic sort of situation. And then immediately afterwards, you realize that, like, that's not the reality for Black people in America. They don't get to have any sense of security for anything, whether it's sleeping in their own bed or walking down the street.
And is that why you're posting up outside of this house and waiting for everyone to leave? I mean, there's all types of people inside of that home.
Yeah, I mean, definitely. We have to use our privilege and what we have to protect people in whatever way that we can. It's our obligation, our duty to our fellow people in this country. People don't deserve to live in fear like this, to be harassed and targeted by police. It's not right.
And I do want to ask, a few days ago, we did see protests turn violent. A lot of people saying that's not the message they wanted to get across. Yesterday, we saw a more peaceful protest, but we did see a big show of force by law enforcement. What was the mood yesterday during the protest, at least where you were?
So where I was, the mood was pretty peaceful. Things stayed pretty good. If anything, the people that started escalating things were the police. Immediately in SWAT gear, out the gate, shooting rockets into and over crowds, setting off fireworks, tear gassing peaceful protesters. It's the same kind of all over the country, and I think people are finally starting to realize that that's the norm. It's not that different from back when they were marching in civil rights and they did a peaceful protest and they got met with dogs and tear gas, and not that much has changed.
And Austin, I want to note, you are living in Baltimore right now, and you came to D.C. for these protests. Thank you for talking with us. I know we'll be here as well, as you're staying here. We're going to toss it over to John Gonzalez. He's also in Northwest D.C. John, what's it looking like where you are?
Kristen, we've now moved from Chinatown to a block away from Lafayette Park. This is the area that has really been ground zero, if you will, during these protests each night. And take a look at some of these buildings. This is the AFL-CIO building, and you can see the boarded up windows and doors, some of that preventative, trying to prevent any damage, but windows that were left uncovered, if you will, have been destroyed. You can see that one there. The revolving door window has been shattered there, and just a lot of graffiti all over the place. This is the kind of damage we have been seeing for the last couple of nights. And again, many of these buildings, these businesses, office spaces, deciding to board up their doors and windows, almost like preventing, waiting for a hurricane to come. In some cases it worked, in other cases it has not. We have been seeing D.C. police out and about, making sure that folks are complying with the curfew. And over here you have crews from the city that are now power washing and cleaning some of the graffiti off of the sidewalk, off of the side of the buildings, even on the street signs there.
There's just this man that's pushing and shoving and pepper spray and screaming, and it was like a human tsunami.
We're following breaking news this morning. The D.C. curfew just now ending after another night of protest in the district turned chaotic. And
dozens of protesters had to actually take refuge in a stranger's home all night long. And this is actually still happening on Swann Street in Northwest. And now the district's curfew is lifting. They're expected to start coming out any second. Let's go straight to Good Morning Washington's Kristen Powers live in Northwest with what's happening right now. Good morning, Kristen.
Good morning. So you just heard some clapping behind me. Not sure what that is, but as we've been talking with the owner of this home, he says it's kind of become a family in there. We are talking with him again. Raul, I'm going to put him up here on video chat. Now, I do want to address, a lot of people out here worried because, as you said, there are a lot of minors within that home. That's why we are, talking with you here as a representative for them. But what's the mood right now? It's now 6 o'clock. Curfew has been lifted.
Yes, we're anticipating a caravan showing up sporadically starting at 6:15, so we're in anticipation of that. I'm going to lead some of this group out 3 at a time into cars that are going to be pulling up one at a time at a location close by. And so I've had trouble right now meeting that. We're working about them opening out the front door. The police have been trying to bait us many times. I know they're not there right now, but we're not through this yet. I want to make sure that all of these adults and children and 20-somethings that have been here the entire night are home and get home safely.
And of course, that's your main goal, is that people are getting out safely. I'm going to let you go because I do know that you're organizing different things. So thank you for speaking with me again. I appreciate it.
Hey, Kristen, thank you for covering this and ABC7. It's just been it's very important, and I hope that we're able to peacefully get these people home to to their families, and Godspeed, everybody.
Yeah, peacefully is definitely the key word there. Thank you. So I do want to note, I mean, out here it is 6 o'clock. We aren't seeing any police. I know that was a fear. We saw police here earlier trying to talk with them about, ways to have them leave. But as you heard Raul saying, there is that fear of being arrested because these individuals, they were out here past curfew, and as many people around here have been noting, a lot of them are young. They say teenagers are in their 20s. So we're going to remain on the scene here to just let you know what happens as they do start to leave. But the goal, as it's been echoed all morning, is they're hoping that it is peaceful. Back to you.
Yeah, Kristen, and please stay safe. Thank you so much. And as you heard, that curfew in place in D.C. did very little to calm protesters down. People stayed out late, but it still wasn't at the level we saw Sunday night. Good Morning Washington's John Gonzalez is also live in Northwest with a look at the damage there. Hey, John.
Robert, good morning. We are across the street from the White House, Lafayette Park, right behind me. And these masks are serving a dual purpose this morning. Of course, we've still got COVID-19, but the cleanup is underway, and there are street sweepers that are lifting up the sediment of all the pepper spray left behind on the roadway, creating a cloud of smoke, and it is really creating a tough time for folks to breathe around here. A lot of coughing, a lot of sneezing because of the pepper spray. There you have it. There's some of the street sweepers kicking up all of the sediment from the pepper spray from last night. And this is what Lafayette Park looks like at this hour. You can see the White House in the background. You've got Secret Service. They've got the area closed off while the cleanup continues. But you see all of the graffiti on the street signs there in front of the park, and you can see it's entirely fenced off right now. No public allowed inside the park today once again. And even some of the buildings next door, you have the historic Hay Adams. It is all boarded up, and we've been telling you this morning how a lot of this is preventative. Buildings, office space, people that knew that something was going to happen again last night, and they took preventative measures and they boarded things up. But in some cases, it didn't help. We know that some of the protesters, some of the looters were ripping the plywood off of these windows and doors and breaking the windows as well. So still a lot of cleanup out here. The curfew just lifted minutes ago, and just a tremendous amount of activity as folks continue to clean up around Lafayette Park and the White House. That's the latest from here. We'll send it back to you, Lindsay.
And I'm at the alert desk right now. We just got some new video in from outside of Circus in Las Vegas. That's where one officer, we're told, was shot. We're still waiting to find out that person's how they're doing. This was along Las Vegas Boulevard, but down Las Vegas Boulevard, there was another shooting. It's the same road there, but in the downtown Vegas area. In that case, it's an officer-involved shooting. They continue to follow this and other developments going on throughout the country right now. Back to you.
All right, our coverage continues. Elsewhere in the DMV, a peaceful march in solidarity in Gaithersburg calling for justice in George Floyd's death. Dozens, maybe hundreds in the crowd marched through town, blocking streets and traffic. At times, police were there managing the crowd and traffic.
And actually, protesters also took to the streets in Oxon Hill. A couple of hundred demonstrators gathered yesterday outside of Prince George's County Police Station to call attention to George Floyd's death. Chief Hank Stawinski was among the officers who joined that peaceful protest, and it was organized by a local chapter of Black Lives Matter. Now, Prince George's County has dealt with numerous incidents of police brutality over the years. In fact, just months ago, an officer was charged with murder after he was accused of shooting a handcuffed man to death.
In Gainesville, organizers of a march mandated everyone remain peaceful. It did, and police officers who joined the crowd were applauding many of the messages.
All right, guys, as we are
Now, police in Richmond are actually apologizing to protesters for this, using tear gas. They say they did it to protect protesters because some were actually trying to pull down statues last night. Now, police say if the statues had come down, they would have crushed anyone standing nearby. Police also say some violent demonstrators cut them off, and the tear gas was necessary to allow officers to move to safety. Ashley?
There is an outpouring of support for Richmond business owners whose companies suffered massive damage during the weekend riots. One of those companies is Waller Jewelers, a family-owned business since 1900. Windows and display cases were smashed. Jewelry was stolen.
You see the smash that, but they broke the glass out of here.
We were hoping to open on tomorrow. I don't think we're going to be able to open tomorrow with what has happened here.
This is a black-owned business. It doesn't matter if it's black. This is a business that's been here for generations. These businesses that you guys are out here tearing up, we need these businesses.
Volunteers showed up to help clean up the damage and to protect at night if needed. If you'd like to help, a GoFundMe page has been set up to help the Waller family get through this.
And these protests have spread around the world. People in other countries are standing in solidarity with the Black Lives Matter movement. Peaceful protesters gathered near the U.S. Embassy in Paris yesterday. They took a knee, held signs while repeating, quote, "We are all George Floyd." And in Dublin, Ireland yesterday, hundreds of protesters marched peacefully in front of the U.S. Embassy, chanting George Floyd's name and demanding change.
Robert, the medical examiner's office in Hennepin County, Minnesota, has ruled George Floyd's death a homicide. And it says he died of cardiopulmonary arrest while being restrained by law enforcement, and that means his heart failed. The medical examiner says Floyd had signs of heart disease and had taken fentanyl and methamphetamine, but there's no mention of whether either drug contributed to his death. Experts hired by Floyd's family say he died of asphyxiation from sustained pressure. Updating breaking news now about protesters who took refuge inside a D.C. row house after being surrounded by police after curfew. They are just now starting to leave. We're going to go straight out to Good Morning Washington's Kristen Powers live along Swann Street in Northwest. Kristen, what are you seeing?
Ashley, hey, good morning. So these protesters who were inside since roughly 8:30 p.m., 9:30 p.m. are now starting to leave this man's home, a stranger's home originally, now that curfew is over. What we've seen is a lot of different cars lining up, a lot of people from the community coming out here as well to support. I will say right now there is no sight of police. I don't see police anywhere. We do see people walking out. As soon as they walked out, there was clapping, there was the chant, Black Lives Matter. And when we were talking to everyone inside, you know, they did describe that experience of police dispersing them last night after those protests and sort of corralling them into this area near 15th and Swann. But now, as you see, people are walking out and there doesn't seem to be any disruption. Everything so far so good as far as being pretty peaceful. And we were able to talk to people inside. I do want to see, I know a lot of these individuals, they said they were tired. They've been here a long time, so I don't want to just bombard them here. But let me just put out a call and see if anyone is interested in speaking, just to see. Hold on, I want to listen for a second. Okay, so they're now talking if anyone wants escorts when they're walking away in order to feel a little bit more safe. Were you inside of the home?
I was not.
You were not inside of the home, okay. So they're just organizing everything, and it seems like it's been a real team effort here. But I'm going to send it back to you. I'm going to see if I can, you know, talk to any of these individuals, and I'm sure they feel quite relieved, the fact that they're able to just get out. And they're walking out very calmly. Everything is very peaceful, so that's always a great thing to see. I'm going to bring Ernie, actually. I'm going to tap our photographer. If you want to follow me over here, let's see if we can get on this way. You can see just how many people from the community are out here, as well as different cars, that a lot of these people getting picked up. So we're going to see here the people still asking if they could get a ride. But were any of you guys inside of the home?
Yes, we were.
You were. Would you mind speaking? I mean, how does it feel? This is what we wanted. You wanted peaceful, leaving peacefully. What's your name first?
Andre.
Andre, and I think I talked to you a little earlier.
Yeah.
You're out. Curfew's over. What's the feeling?
Just relief. I think just feeling of safety. That's my parents calling me now. It was a frightening experience. I'm glad we all could do it together, but frankly, we were all scared. We know it was going to happen. And we were there from like 10:30 till now. So
yeah, and no police in sight here right now.
No, and we were still worried about that as we were coming out. So we're still a little cautious about that. But
all right, so you're getting out of here. If your parents are calling you, you might want to answer that.
Yes, I am, and I'm just so glad. I appreciate all the support, all the food you guys gave us. We really appreciate it. It's just even someone came and dropped off masks for us, because when you think about it, 70 kids, 70 adults, young adults in the house cannot be pretty good for a pandemic, but it was a cause, and we're happy we came out. So, but we did not expect this at all. It was just strange.
All right, well, get home safely.
Thank you.
Yeah, so of course you heard that. They're happy that this is peaceful. They're walking out right now. There are no cops in sight.